So for example 3, we are going to look at some of the methods that we have for factoring trinomials. There are 3 really common ones. One is decomposition, the second one is the rectangle model, and the third one is logical reasoning. We're going to look at the 2 methods today that probably give us the most consistent results. We're going to use decomposition and we're going to use the rectangle model. So for decomposition, let's look at that one first. The first step will be to multiply the coefficient of the h squared term by the constant term. So we're going to multiply 6 times 4, and that's going to give us 24. So for the next step, we have to think about the sum and product idea that we looked at in the previous section. So we want things that give us a product of 24 and a sum of 11, because the middle term in my trinomial was 11h. So when I look at that, numbers that multiply to give me 24 and that add to give me 11 would be 3 and 8. I'm going to rewrite the trinomial replacing the middle term. So I'm going to write 6h squared plus 3h plus 8h plus 4 instead of 6h squared plus 11h plus 4. Then the final step will be to group the first 2 terms together and remove the GCF. Group the second 2 terms together and remove the GCF there as well. So here's my first 2 terms, 6h squared plus 3h, and my second 2 terms, 8h plus 4, and I'm going to take out the greatest common factor of each one. 6h squared plus 3h, my greatest common factor is 3h, and I'm left behind with 2h plus 1. For 8h plus 4, my greatest common factor is 4, and 8h divided by 4 is 2h, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. And here's a real good idea or indication that you've got your question done right if these 2 brackets match. So your final solution then would be 3h plus 4, and your matching bracket is 2h plus 1. And if you want to check your answer and make sure it's correct, you can always work backwards using the distributive property. Let's see how we can do this same question using the rectangle model. So in the rectangle model, we do the same thing. We have to find numbers that multiply to give us 24 and add to give us 11. So first of all, we're going to put our 6h squared in the first square and our 4 in the last square. Then, like I said, we want things that give us a product of 24 and a sum of 11. And those numbers are going to be 3 and 8. So I'm going to put my 8h in one square and my 3h in the other square. So then all you have to do is remove the GCF from each column and from each row. So if I draw my square from above out again, I had 6h squared and my 8h. I also had 3h and 4. Well, let's look at the rows first of all. A common factor for 6h squared and 8h would be 2h. A common factor here, the biggest common factor that I have would be 1, because nothing else goes into 3h and 4. When I look at the column 6h squared and 3h, I have a 3h in common, and for 8h and 4, 4 is common. So now I have my two factors, 3h plus 4 times 2h plus 1. And that should be the same answer as I did using the other method, and of course it is.